Good evening, viewer. Welcome to our Glory Globe TV. Yes, secularism was born out of the need to separate religion and state. But what happens when a state religion itself becomes a threat to the state? Till when Europe and the West can afford to just be racist and blame immigrants, overlooking the crucial driving factors like their religion and ideology and the underlying theocracy. Such modern day issues make questions: is secularism still relevant? Should Europe finally bid farewell to secularism? Or is it time for states to acknowledge the primary of religion, certain ideologies, and not just bring in relevant, stringent laws but enforce them too? Does religious loyalty supersede the sovereignty of the state? The European idea of secularism fails to fill the God gap. First, it fails philosophically. It does not provide us with a rational interpretation of life. Second, if and also it fails religiously and spiritually. Third, it fails in the realm of social moral values. To understand Islamic extremists, one must study in what ways it fills this God gap. So, for any secular nation state, it is impossible to tackle religious extremism until and unless they reclaim their own religious identity, be in Christianity, Judaism, or even Hinduism for that matter. When it comes to Europe, take France for instance, knowingly or unknowingly made a grave mistakes of not collating data on racial, religious, or gendered basis at all, which ended up giving the immigrants and anti-social elements a blind spot to thrive. On the other hand, the European countries that did collect understand the brevity of the situation. A research report by Alex Schmidt, which looked into the links between migration and terrorism, says some children of immigrants to Western diasporas insufficiently integrated into the host society and being caught between two cultures have been a search for identity and meaning, looked at jihadists as role models, and thousands of them migrated to Syria to become foreign fighters. Migrants can be terrorists and terrorists can be migrants in many ways. The arrival of large refugee populations, when not properly handled, increases the risk of attacks in the recipient country by both domestic and transnational terrorists. One would also like to believe that refugee camps are secure locations where people who have fled persecution or the prospect of violence can wait for the conclusion of hostilities and make plans for how to resume their lives after returning. Sadly, this is often not the case because they are typically weakly policed. Refugee camps tend to be deadly locations. Refugee camps are frequently associated with suffering and an absence of perspective for those forced to wait there for better times. They serve as a breeding ground for terrorism, much like jails. A little over half of all refugees worldwide are under the age of 18. Younger people are more likely than older persons to join terrorist organizations. Open-ended residence in such camps after recruitment opportunities for terrorists and guerrilla fighters. Another report by CSIS depicts the extent of terrorist attacks in the 5 years 2013-2017. Islamic extremists have focused on targeting places like airports, private citizens, business, the military and police, often symbols of the infidel government, its citizen and Western civilization. If one looks at the data provided by the European Union's website, in 2023 alone, 69,178 irregular arrivals were registered. The breakdown per migratory route is as follows: Central route 50,318 arrivals, Eastern route 10,285 arrivals, Western routes 8,575 arrivals. These are the top nationalities which accounted for irregular inroads into the European Union. All others 2041 on the central route, Syria 825 on the eastern route, and Morocco 475 on the western route. Behind the report, Glory Globe TV, Delhi, India.